Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And iHeartMedia is the number one media in the United States. And Big C Sports has been rated the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And his good old boys down south, also the black hole. Never want to not take their vote for granted, Big C. Also, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. So thank you so much for following Charlton and Big C Sports, and of course across the pond and Paris, France, and London, England, and of course our good old boys from Canada. Thank you so much, Canada. Love your national anthem. But most important, Big C, how you good old boys doing in the land of the free and the home of the brave, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I've been down here getting a whole lot of southern hospitality down here in Atlanta. I mean, everybody's been so kind, you know.
Oh yeah.
Understanding how great that the University of Alabama is going to be this week, and just being very hospitable to those Gators down there from Florida. But
yeah.
The SEC championship game here in Atlanta, you know, which is a great festive event every year. And, you know, so many people are here in town, you know, from both universities.
Yeah.
Proximity-wise, it fits like in a triangle. Atlanta does from Florida and Alabama.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're expecting a great weekend of college football. You know, the number one team is on the verge of getting back to the national championship run once again. So it's a great weekend for sports.
Well, it definitely is a great weekend for sports. And speaking of today, it is December the 2nd, 2016. I'm also out here looking at some of the college football, this money grab they have going on in the Pac-12 championship game with the University of Washington ranked number 4, and they're taking on the University of Colorado. They're ranked number 9 in the country. That game is going to be on Fox. Kickoff starts tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 6 o'clock here on the West Coast, Big C. And last year, you think about the Buffaloes, they were 4-9, and the Huskies, they were rebuilding under their great coach, Chris Peterson. They have this kid out of Sacramento, and Jake Brown, and he threw over 90 touchdown passes as a senior in high school, Big C. He has 40 right now for the Huskies. But this is a good-looking football team, the University of Washington. And Colorado looks good, too, but I still look at Colorado. They lost to Michigan on the road. They lost to USC on the road. And then you look at Washington, they only lost to USC at home. So no matter who wins this game, I think Washington, if they win, they get into the Final Four, Big C. If Colorado wins, they'll probably only go to a Rose Bowl or some other ancillary game, Big C. Just your thoughts on how it's looking for you guys. If there is a chance that Alabama gets knocked off, I think they still find the way in, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's ironic that you say that, Charlton, when you think about it. If Washington were to lose that game tonight to Colorado,
yeah,
and Alabama was to, I don't know, not show up tomorrow for Florida,
yeah, right.
Florida scored a point one by one,
right?
You know, you think about it. When this championship series was set up, they were saying conference champs meant something. Yeah, and if you had to be a conference champ to be in there. If that scenario was to play out, where Washington could lose tonight, Alabama could lose tomorrow, there could possibly be 3 non-conference champion teams starting in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And even think about it. Clemson has to play West Virginia.
Yeah.
And if they lost, you would actually have a college championship, Charlton, with 4 non-conference championship teams. And I have to think about how TCU got screwed 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When they went 12-0, and they said because they didn't have a conference championship game, that the committee left them off. Why is the committee changing their criteria when it comes down to the heritage universities, Charlton, having an opportunity to go to the playoffs where you have teams that are deserving based on the criteria that the committee originally set up for a playoff series, that conference championships would be the number one consideration when you being in the playoffs.
Well, Big C, I agree with that very much. And this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive one, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. We know that Big C is muddy, but Big C, I think even Mother Nature's following Big C Sports, because all of the Cadillacs I see lately are muddy. Maybe just because of the weather, Big C, or maybe even Mother Nature's following Charlton and Big C Sports. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, often imitated, never perfected, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be like a winner, you know, and everybody understands what Big C does.
Yeah.
Big C has the World Series going on. Big C has Big C Sports going on.
Yeah.
And everybody's copying with commercials on television, whether it's on ESPN, whether it's on Fox. Everybody's copying Big C. Now a major sponsor in Cadillac.
Yeah.
We gave them a great idea, and they stole it from us.
Yeah.
Appreciate the Cadillac.
Thank you.
You gotta let them know where you got that image from.
Don't worry, you'll get a paycheck coming in. And also going back to this college football, this money grab. I think it's great that we have sports. I just love seeing people who work to get paid for it. Also tonight we have the MAC championship, and that's in Detroit. Number 14. Western Michigan, they're playing versus Ohio, and that game kicks off at 7 o'clock p.m., and that's Eastern time on ESPN2, Big C. But unlike some of the bigger games where you have, in the Pac-12 championship with Washington and Colorado, and then on Saturday, you have Temple's even playing Navy, and that's in the AAC championship. Oklahoma State, which is ranked number 10, they're at number 7, Oklahoma, and that's in a game that conference in the Big 12 just gets overlooked. That's 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Oklahoma's ranked number 7. But even when you rank Oklahoma number 7, I don't think anyone will forget how they were blown out by Ohio State in their own backyard down in Norman, Oklahoma. And, of course, the SEC championship, that's in Atlanta. Number 1, Alabama. Number 16, Florida. That's a 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern time start on CBS Sports. Your ACC championship game is in Orlando. Number 3, Clemson versus number 18, Virginia Tech at 8 p.m. Eastern time on ABC Sports. And then the Big Ten rounds it out in Indianapolis. Number 5, Wisconsin versus number 8, Penn State. That's 8 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Big C, I want to bring something up. Just being here at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, it's about a good maybe 1,000 miles south from Seattle, and then maybe another 1,000 to 1,500 miles west of Colorado, Boulder. It would make so much more sense if they would take these conference championship games and just have a home team host the conference championship game. One year could be the North, one year could be the South in the Pac-10 or Pac-12, and the SEC could be the West and the East. I just think it's asking too much around the holidays, because it's not going to be a sellout crowd tonight in the Bay Area. It's asking too much in the holidays for fans and college kids to travel 1,500 miles or 1,000 miles to see a game. Doesn't it make sense to host somebody at home, Big C? Your thoughts on that one?
Well, we often look at that geographically, and I talked about Alabama and we talked about Florida proximity to Atlanta.
Yeah.
When you look at the SEC, Atlanta's like in the middle of all the SEC schools, and so when you do the game there and you know it's going to be there every year,
yeah,
everyone can set themselves up for that. And basically teams in the SEC know 3 weeks to a month out who's going to be playing in that game generally.
Yeah.
And when you look at travel, it's just a car ride away. Less on flying. But when you talk about those schools, Charlton, in the Pac-12, the vast amount of distance you have to travel.
Yeah, so far. Yeah.
Geographically to get to one of those stadiums. It only makes sense when you look at the bowl season, Charlton, and you start placing teams in bowls.
Yeah.
And it's atrocious. You have to put teams geographically close to those stadiums that they're going to play in. You can't take a team from the Midwest and send them out to California.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Expecting them to draw, Charlton. They even bring fans. You can't take a Boise State and put them in a game down in Texas, Charlton, on New Year's.
Yeah.
And expect them to fill a stadium at 75,000. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see so many bowl games with a lackluster crowd.
Yeah.
It's the money mongering and grabbing from the bowl committees because they're going to get paid from television. But I think you do an injustice to these great young athletes when you put them in these facilities and they're seeing a crowd that looks like a high school crowd on many occasions.
Yeah,
Charlton.
that's true.
I think that you got to look at the mentality and the mindset of the players, the fans. Make it easy for these people to attend. But don't, be a detractor as far as saying, I'm going to take a team that doesn't fit in an area. You take Florida State.
Yeah.
Where are they going to end up in a bowl game? Are they going to end up in a bowl game in Texas? Which is too far away. Are they going to end up in one in California, which is too far away?
Yeah.
For that time of the year, when you talk about, Charlton, holiday time, family time, and having someone to go out for just one event, one game, and having to go back home.
Yeah, and I think you call it right, but I want to touch on something just to round up college football. If you look at some of the coaches, we keep talking about pay equity and how you can get guys paid for producing the labor. If you look at Jim Harbaugh, if he gets Michigan into the playoffs, he would earn $300,000 extra and $500,000 extra if they won the national title. Now, we know they're not going to be in. We don't really know that until something happens with these championship games. Who knows? We know the media would love to get Jim Harbaugh in there. Dabo Swinney, if Clemson finds a way to win a national championship, he's looking at a $1.4 million bonus. Chris Peterson for the University of Washington, if the Huskies win the national championship, he's looking at about $1.5 million bonus. And of course, your good old friend down in the South, Nick Saban, if the Alabama Crimson Tide has a way of winning the national championship, he also is looking at about $1 million in bonus, Big C. The same thing applies for all of the coaches in the Final Four. Ohio State, same thing with their good old boy coaching up there as well. And I just don't understand it, and it doesn't seem fair that they even advertise it in the papers how much money these guys are getting, and then they'll tell you they don't have enough money to pay college players. One more thought on that, Big C. If it is to ever to happen, do you see that being likely, say, in the next 3 years, Big C, especially if they're going to expand from 4 games to 8, Big C? Your thoughts on that one?
Well, they're going to expand, Charleston. They're going to expand for the playoffs because more teams will have an opportunity to get in on the money grabbing.
Yeah.
And some conferences would automatically have 2 teams in the playoffs, Charleston, without a doubt. Big Ten, the SEC, they will get their 2 teams in on a regular basis. But when we look at this as far as what players are not receiving or have never received from college football, the monies that are being tossed out around to the coaches. And it grows year after year when you look at it, The buyout from coaches, we look at what just happened down at the University of Texas. Buying out the coach from the University of Houston.
Yeah.
Paying off Charlie Strong. Millions of dollars transferred between 2 coaches, and players are not getting a dime. And you talk about these bonuses that the coaches are going to receive on the backs of players. This is what's always been. The owner has always got the money from the workers who don't get any benefits other than the labor that they put out. And that's what college football is, Charleston. It's a free labor source for guys to become rich. You got all these new coaching searches that are going on around the country. I think at last call there were like 11 schools that have head coaching searches going on right now. Yeah. 11. And all of these guys are going to get paid, Charleston. Matter of fact, they talked about Houston today looking at Les Miles and Lane Kiffin. So these coaches are going to go out and make millions of dollars on the backs and the sweat of these college athletes, Charleston, who can't even get a bologna sandwich, without being a chance of losing their scholarship. So, this is the unfairness that the NCAA is teaching, that we want to pay the coaches a copious amount of money in excess of what they should get, realistically. Yeah. But you players can't get a dime from making these guys rich. And Charleston, with 11 college football openings right now, will there be any African Americans to get any consideration, Charleston? No, we have to look at that also. That's true. Because all of these teams are going to be stocked with African American players, but they're going to say that there's no African American qualified candidates out there to become a head coach at any of these universities. Yeah, Big C, and they've been doing that game a long time. And speaking of doing that game, this NFL segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? And when you think about what a buck can do for you, I'm still upset that I did not win that $400 million, Big C. I know it went to some good old boys from the state of Tennessee, but I just thought it would have been more fair and more favorable if the people who brag on the lottery the most actually won it, and that's Charleston and Big C Sports, Big C. But they may call that an inside deal or collusion, but I still say we should have won that money, Big C. And speaking of winning that money, a lot of good football games, coming up tonight. Last night, just watching what happened in all the world of football on Thursday Night Football. Actually a decent game. The point spread was only 3 points by the Cowboys over the Vikings. There was a time I think they were up by about 9 points. And then you got a chance for the Vikings to drive downfield. And then I think Bradford threw the ball about 20 feet high, Big C. I don't know who he was throwing to. Maybe he saw someone in the stands, but 20 feet high. A great game, though, by Minnesota. Great defensive game. Your thoughts on the game last night? Dallas getting a 2-point win over the Vikings, Big C. Well, Vegas had the line at what, Charleston? 3? Yeah. On the game? Yep. and so the game selling line was what Vegas did. Yeah. The game started out good early in the first quarter. It was a 7-3 game, but, the Vikings can turn it up defensively when they need it. And, prime time, they did that last night. The Cowboys keep finding a way to win, though, Charleston. That's the key factor. And everybody wants to start knocking Dak Prescott down. They want to blast Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. These 2 rookies. people are trying to find negativity in the Stars of Dallas. Charlton, we talked last night about Dallas, and everybody says this team is run by its offensive line. And we talked about this the same offensive line that was on the team last year that was 4-12.
Almost got Jason Garrett fired last year too, Big C.
The same guys that were blocking for those quarterbacks that couldn't complete a pass.
Yeah.
Those running backs that couldn't get into the end zone. So the only difference in this team, Charlton, are those two players.
Yeah.
When you realistically look at it.
Yeah.
And we want to have these people in the media that's not being honest, because everybody's trying to find a way to cry and get Tony Romo back into the lineup, saying it's the offensive line, it's not the quarterback, and it's not the running back.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you go back and you look at Dallas over the last 2 years, that has to be the reason why. The Vikings, the biggest difference with them is the quarterback and the running back from last year. If you look at these two teams, and it's a mirror image of what they were last year.
Yeah,
so they had the running back, they had the quarterback.
Yeah.
They were a conference champ and a playoff team.
Well,
this year, Dallas has the running back and the quarterback, and they're going to be a playoff team. They're 11-1, Charlton, just a tremendous run that they've been on.
Yeah.
But everybody else wants to take it away. And the ironic thing, Charlton, think about this. Last year was Minnesota. What did they have? An African-American quarterback.
Yeah.
Dallas this year has an African-American quarterback, young African-American quarterback. And the media, for some reason, tries to find a way to knock these players. And I don't get it. I understand the biasness that they have.
Yeah.
They're like girlfriends. You know, that's my boyfriend there, so I'm going to cheer for him.
Yeah, well.
But these African-American quarterbacks do not get their just due, Charlton, and they're playing well.
Well,
always somebody else that they're trying to give the credit to.
Well, Big C, speaking of giving credit to people, we're looking at Week 13 in the NFL. We have a big game, even a Super Bowl kind of profile game, even though it won't be. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're 8-3, and they're actually on the road to the Good Old Boys down there in Atlanta, and that's with Ryan and the Good Old Boys and Julio Jones. They're 8-3 on the season. Atlanta is 7-4. That game is Sunday. 1 o'clock Eastern Time kickoff on CBS Sports. The great Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Jamie Erdahl have the play-by-play. The Falcons are actually favored by 4.5. Both teams are excellent at not committing turnovers, but the Chiefs, they've had 24 takeaways this season, Big C, and Atlanta only has 12. Your thoughts and what could be the pivotal point in this game? It's only a 4.5-point spread by the Falcons at home, Big C.
Well, you know, it's going to come down to that secondary, Charlton, of the Chiefs. How are they going to be against that great receiving core of Sanu and Jones in Atlanta?
Yeah.
You know, this is a team that's very explosive. You know, Kansas City is more of a ball control team. Alex Smith, you know, they've always said he was a game manager, whether he wins or not. They just call him a game manager. He's a pro quarterback. So you have to categorize him as a pro quarterback, not a game manager.
Yeah.
And he's beaten every team in the NFL, Charlton. He's been an outstanding quarterback over his career. Matt Ryan has always not lived up to his expectations. Matt Ryan, 1 week you go out and get you 500 yards in the air. Next week he's going to only get you 250. So it's the key to which Matt Ryan shows up. You know that Atlanta has the great receiving core. Their defense has been up and down. Their pass rush has improved lately, which can cause problems for Kansas City. But Atlanta being at home in the Dome should be able to win this game, Charlton.
Next game coming up, Big C, the Detroit Lions, which are really on the upswing. They're 7-4. They're at the New Orleans Saints, which are 5-6 under the great Drew Brees. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox Sports. The great Chris Myers, Ronde Barber, and Jennifer Hale have the play-by-play. The Saints are favored by 6.5. You know Drew Brees is going to find a way to get his 300 yards. And then Matthew Stafford, he's also been playing well, Big C. But the great Drew Brees at home in the Dome, it's hard to go against Brees when he's at home in New Orleans. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, you know, this is one of those scenarios, Charlton, with the Lions 7 times this year has come from behind in the fourth quarter in one game.
Yeah.
They're 7-0 in the fourth quarter this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
The other parts of the games that they've been losing. So, you know, that's a key to the game. And New Orleans has always had problems defensively, Charlton. It's a tremendous offensive team. And you'd have to wonder, what would Drew Brees be in the annals of history if he ever played on a great defensive team, whether he was with the Chargers and even with the Saints when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They were a team who gave up a lot of points that season. So, you know, and Drew Brees, you know, like I said, in a one-game scenario, matter of fact, in a season scenario, I'm taking Drew Brees over every quarterback in the NFL, whether it's Brady, Rodgers, Carr, whoever's out there. This guy, you know he's going to go out and produce yards. He just doesn't. And so can the New Orleans defense keep Matthew Stafford on the sideline? We know they've been hot.
Yeah.
This is the first time in a long time that they've been leading the division. Jim Conwell, the head coach, deserves a lot of credit for what they've done, with this team this year.
Yeah, I agree with that very much, Big C. Also, another game coming up that looks good on paper when you look at the athletes. You have the Los Angeles Rams at 4-7, at the New England Patriots. They're at 9-2 on this season. That game is Sunday, 1:00 Eastern Time on Fox. And Kevin Burkhardt, as well as John Lynch and Pam Oliver, have the play-by-play. Now, the Patriots are favored by 13 points in this game. But when you look at the defense, when you look at Robert Quinn and Aaron Donald for the Rams, they're two of the best pass rushers in the game. Without Gronkowski there, will Brady be under fire in this game, Big C?
I don't think they'll be under fire. They have a tremendous front four in the Rams, and they've had them for the last 3 years. But I think what comes down to this game, Charlton, is that Jeff Fisher right now is auditioning to be fired.
Really?
When he was in Tennessee, it was very easy to be adorned by the media because they had nothing else around.
Yeah.
You come to the city of Angels in Los Angeles, this is a media town that's used to winners. Whether it's been the Los Angeles Lakers, the University of Southern California, the team that, gave Alabama a run for their money.
Yeah. We know they drunk that horse, Big C. They shouldn't have drank that moonshine, Big C.
The Los Angeles Dodgers. Fisher came back to Los Angeles with a lot of fanfare.
Yeah.
With the number 1 overall draft pick. But he has not endured the fans. He's not endured the former players, an alumni of the team, especially he's in his spat now with Eric Dickerson. You think about it, you're supposed to be coaching a pro football team, and yet you're spatting with one of the greatest running backs of all time because he's not liking your coaching style or the production of your team.
Yeah.
And he's out there worshiping. He didn't tell any of the media that they wouldn't be welcome on the sidelines, but he kicked out Eric Dickerson, telling him that he's not welcome on the sideline. And so the CEO of the Rams met with Eric today. And so there's going to be some ears that roll, and it won't be Eric's because he's always going to be a Ram for life.
Yeah.
But when you look at this game with Brady, Gronkowski will not make a difference being out of the lineup. He didn't play the first 5 games of the season, Charlton, for New England. And you saw New England's record at that point.
Yeah.
They were 4-1. So he's not the be-all to be-all. They won the game last week, Charlton. He wasn't in the lineup after he got hurt. So he's not going to make a difference in the passing game. Martellus Bennett is a tremendous tight end.
Yeah.
That the Patriots have. NFL veteran, a lot of speed, just as big as Gronkowski, maybe a little faster. So they will not suffer at all without Gronkowski being in the lineup. And the defense for New England has gotten better over the past couple of weeks since the trade of Jamie Collins.
Well, Big C, when you look at another game coming up, it's the Denver Broncos, and my goodness, they are 7-4. They don't look like a 7-4 team, though, and they're at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're at 2-9, and that game is Sunday, 1:00 Eastern Time on CBS Sports. And the great Spiro Dides is Solomon Wilcox have the play-by-play. The Broncos are favored by 3.5 on the road, and they're not starting Trevor Seaman because he has that sprained foot problem. But Paxton Lynch will get a start in this game, Big C. You see this is a chance for Jacksonville to pull the upset, or will Denver go ahead and roll, Big C?
Well, Denver's going to be favored in this game, Charlton, just because of their overall team, and especially because of their defense. Jacksonville only has 2 victories, Charlton, going into this game. Now, you got to realize Trevor Siemian threw 5 touchdowns in a game versus Tampa Bay earlier this year. Not Trevor Siemian, but Paxton Lynch. Threw 5 touchdowns when he filled in for Trevor Siemian. So the Broncos have what they need offensively. Jacksonville just cannot get out of the mud waddle that they're in. They probably look like the car sitting outside that I left at home.
That's probably true. With all that rain, I think it's been washed off.
It's not as powerful as the West Indies. They look the same with money, but not as powerful.
That's funny. Okay.
I like the Broncos in this game, Charlton. The Broncos are one of those teams that are creeping along, because the Raiders are getting all the publicity in the West.
Yeah.
But they're right there on the berth of making the playoffs once again.
Well, I'll tell you what, Big C. I know that so many people love the quarterback controversy and all the talks that came with it was last year with Peyton Manning or the great Brock Osweiler. But the matchup in this game, the Broncos quarterback Aqib Talib, since he shot himself and came back, Big C, he's been pretty good. A guy's pretty tough when he can shoot himself and he can still make the team, Big C. And Chris Harris Jr., as well as the going against Jaguars wide receivers and Allen Robinson and Alan Hearns. Big C, another game. We just talked about the great Brock Osweiler with the Houston Texans at 6-5 on the season. Now they're at Green Bay and Lambeau Field. The Packers are only 5-6, but they're playing really good football now. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, and Tracy Wolfson have that play-by-play. And the Packers are a 6.5-point favorite at Lambeau Field. Your thoughts on this? Because Rodgers is coming into his own. I think his last 3 games, he's passed for over 300 yards. And if you look at the numbers, it's since his nightmares returned to the Denver, they lost to Denver. Osweiler, for the Texans quarterback, he's thrown 4 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions in his last games, Big C, his last 5 games, and he's still getting that $72 million, Big C. Are they seeing him as a bust now, Big C, the way we thought he was coming into the season?
Well, you and I had an understanding what Osweiler was, Charlton. He was adorned by the media out there being a great quarterback.
Yeah.
He wasn't a great quarterback in Denver. He just got paid like he was a great quarterback going to Houston. Aaron Rodgers last week put 3 touchdowns on the board, playing against Philadelphia, who has a better defense, than what they've had in the past. But, going into Green Bay, coming from Houston, the ball is going to be slick. You got to understand up the north, this time of year, Charlton, the ball gets slick. Matthews is not going to be there from a pass rush perspective for Green Bay, but they have enough players to get after Brock Osweiler. He's going to be a lot like Carson Wentz was last week. He's not as mobile as Wentz, but you know where he's going to be in the pocket. Yeah. He's limited as far as his downfield throwing. That's the thing that people are starting to realize about Brock Osweiler now. He's going to throw the ball underneath. He can't go up top and threaten the defense, so they're not worried about that aspect of the team, Charlton. Yeah. So this is the kid right now on the skids. And, he's lost his confidence, I believe, as a starting quarterback in the NFL because he can't look over his shoulder and say, hey, well, it's Peyton Manning that's making me nervous. He's making him own self nervous every time he walks out on the field. So I give advantage to Green Bay at home. They're tough to beat at Lambeau this time of the year. Well, Big C, I agree with you. And Brock Osweiler's never had any winning credentials outside of a high school to show anyone why they should make him the franchise quarterback. But, money talks. And when you have these Caucasian quarterbacks, Big C, they tend to give them all the money in the world and find someone to blame when they don't perform up to the money. Another game coming up is the Philadelphia Eagles. They're 5-6. Remember the great Carson Wentz had them off to a 3-0 start. Now, in his last several games, Big C, they're only 2-6 in those games, Big C. They're at Cincinnati. The Bengals are 3-7-1. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox. Tom Brenneman, Charles Davis, and Peter Sager's doing the play-by-play. The Bengals are only favored by 1.5 in this game at home, going against Carson Wentz and the Eagles, who have been on a slide. And both teams have gotten off their slow starts, but the Bengals have allowed a touchdown to their opponents in their opening possession in 6 of their last 8 games. They got to start strong against this Eagles team. Your thoughts on this game, Big C? Well, Charlton, it's amazing over the last week how the love affairs changed with a particular team and quarterback. Yeah. People have realized what Wentz can and cannot do. He cannot throw the football down the field consistently. He doesn't have a running game, so his limitations are going to be under 15 yards as a quarterback. And so defenses have studied that, set themselves up for that. Philadelphia didn't do it against Green Bay last week. They weren't able to get it done. Yeah. This is one of those games that Cincinnati can win, because they have a tremendous defensive team playing against a mediocre offensive team in Philadelphia without a running game. So, if you don't have anybody for the play-action fake to hold those linebackers in check, they're going to come after Carson Wentz. And so I expect to see a lot of blitzing from Cincinnati trying to get him uneasy in the pocket, Charlton, because they know he's not going to throw the ball down the field, play a lot of press coverage, and Cincinnati can finally pull one out, maybe keep Marvin Lewis's job. And speaking of keeping a job, this segment is sponsored by United Labor Guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. We are also endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. We work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO, and we're trying to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers because we simply want to put people back to work. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton on Twitter. And if you're looking for work, you can always try every website out there. But if you're also looking to get a job in the insurance industry, tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports. We're every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the iHeartMedia network. We're always on between 5 and 6 p.m. And the one thing I want to say about iHeartMedia
as the number one media company in the United States, there's always opportunities for people to come on and talk about what they can do. If you want to follow sports, it's a billion-dollar industry. Charleston and Big C Sports, we think we're the premier company when it comes to doing sports, and we're the only company in the United States of America that does it freestyle. That means there's no teleprompters and there's no producer's earplug in our ear. We do it freestyle, Big C. Back to the NFL. Just want to get your thoughts on another big game coming up. The Miami Dolphins are much improved at 7-4. They're at the Baltimore Ravens, which are 6-5 on the season. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Kevin Harlan, Rich Gannon, and Chris Fitz is doing the play-by-play. The Ravens are favored by 3 points in this game. Your thoughts on this game? Tannehill is starting to outperform Flacco, Big C.
Well, you know, the running game for Miami has been the difference, Charleston, with Ajayi during this winning streak. And you think about the Dolphins having success, and it's coming from the ground. You know, you drafted Tannehill thinking that you had a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
But you brought in Ajayi, you end up with a franchise running back. And that's been the difference. They spent a lot of money over the past couple of years on that defense. The defense has played well, finally paying up to the money that they're getting paid. You know, Dominican Suh, as we said, made that stop on Colin Kaepernick and the last play of the game last week versus San Francisco. But they're going to have to do a lot more of that this week, Charlton. And I think if they rely on Ajayi, that they can keep this winning streak going, Charlton. And hopefully it would be nice to see the Dolphins back in the playoffs after a run of about a decade with them out of there.
Oh, when you think about that, you think about the great Larry Sonka, Jim Kick, the great Dan Marino, and Bob Greasy, and of course the great Don Shula. And they actually did a revamp to the stadium down there in Miami. They put kind of an overhang all around the stadium, took out a few thousand seats, and it made it more intimate. I think that overhang keeps a lot of the crowd noise in. So good job on Miami. They spent about $500 million revamping that stadium, Big C. And if you look at Tannehill, when he has a running game in Ajayi, he's averaging about 67% of his pass completions, over 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. I'm looking at him as 104.7 QBR, playing good football now, all because, as you always talk about, Big C, the running game makes a big difference for a team trying to win a championship. Another game coming up, the San Francisco 49ers, 1-10 on the season, but I'm telling you, they're at the Chicago Bears at 2-9. When you think about these two great franchises, they have Super Bowl championships between them, and they are combined 3 wins and 19 losses. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox. You have Kenny Albert, Daryl Johnson, and Laura Oakman doing the play-by-play. And the Bears are favored by 1 at home. This is a game where if you look at Colin Kaepernick coming into this game last week against Miami's defense, which is a lot better than what the Bears have. He averaged 11.3 yards per rush, and he also passed for nearly 300 yards in that game, Big C. But he's really the only threat they have. He counts about 90% of the 49ers offense. Your thought going in Chicago, is it even stupid to say this? They may be better off losing so they can move up in the draft, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, both of these teams are going to draft in the top 5 this year.
Yeah.
But when you look at San Francisco and you look at Chicago has a real bad defense. But they have a great defense compared to the 49ers defense. I've never seen so many professional athletes, Charlton, refuse to tackle opponents.
Yeah.
And that's the secondary of the San Francisco 49ers. It's almost like they played in Miami last week and nobody wanted to get any green on that team.
Yeah, I understand.
The whole game.
Yeah.
They refuse to make tackles. And when you have defensive players like that, and I look at the media, how much they concentrate on Kaepernick, trying to make Kaepernick negativity to the NFL, yet they say nothing about this lack of performance defensive players that the 49ers have paraded out there on the field saying that they're professional ball players.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're masquerading as that. And so they have made this team that we saw, I believe, just 3 years ago in the Super Bowl, 4 years ago in the Super Bowl. They were one of the greatest defensive teams in the NFL at that time. Great linebacking core, great secondary.
Yeah.
But management has stripped this team of all of these great players. And so now they're left with a shell of what they once had. And both of these teams are that, Charlton. I like Chicago's defense better than I like San Francisco's, but I like San Francisco's quarterback better than what they have in Chicago. And I give San Francisco a chance to get off the snide this week and get their second win with Kaepernick playing well. And you think about how well he's played the last 4 games, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's been equal to any quarterback in the NFL over the last four games.
Well, even that, I want to just call out all the national media, whether it's Fox or ESPN or NBC, CBS, ABC, all of them, Big C, even the guys at Sports Illustrated, they were saying how this guy was a bust. Well, think about what happened last Sunday. The 49ers quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, on Sunday, he became only the 5th quarterback since the merger to toss for 3 touchdowns and have at least 100-yard rushing. Only 5 quarterbacks have done that since the merger in the NFL, okay? And that was Colin Kaepernick, a guy with no talent around him. So I wonder with Trent Dilfer and all these guys that said he's washed up, where are these guys now when he's only the 5th quarterback since the merger to throw 3 touchdown passes and rush for over 100 yards, and he's averaging nearly 7 yards a carry running the ball, Big C. Is there anyone that wants to come out and say that they were wrong, Big C? Just give me 30 seconds on that, Big C.
Well, with Charlton, I look at how many quarterbacks that have been playing in the NFL since Colin Kaepernick became a starter in San Francisco.
Yeah.
How many of them made the playoffs?
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick has made the playoffs more often than the average quarterback in the NFL. So he's had the productivity. He's had the resume. Right now, he has no team. When you look at how bare the cupboards are in San Francisco, I mean, it's a laughing stock the organizations become around the NFL. People are looking at them and, they become a butt of a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
But Colin Kaepernick has been that constant professional. He's gone out with all the media lambasting him and still performed. I would like to see the media perform at the level that Colin Kaepernick performed the last 4 weeks.
That's funny, Big C. And I think what could be the game of the week coming up in the AFC, you have the Buffalo Bills 6-5. They have to travel all the way across the country to the West Coast, the same way they went up to Seattle and lost a close game to the Seahawks, Big C. They're playing at the Oakland Raiders, are going to be the hottest team in the AFC, and the Raiders are 9-2. That game is Sunday at 4:05 Eastern Time on CBS Sports with Iron Eagle, Dan Fouts, and Evan Washburn doing the play-by-play, Big C. The Raiders are favored by 3 points in this game, and I look at how Buffalo leads the league in rushing at 157 yards a game, but I look at what I really see as the difference maker in this game is Darth Vader's son, because once he put that glove on his hand, Big C, Carr came back out and led the Raiders to a win over Carolina, which won the NFC last year, was runner-up in the Super Bowl. I think what happens for the Raiders, if they get the game into the fourth quarter, even if they're behind, because of Crabtree and because of Cooper and a better offensive line in Carr, they think they can win every game, Big C. They don't want to fall behind to Buffalo, but if they do, I think they still have confidence that they can win. But your thoughts on Buffalo coming across the country and playing in the black hole, Big C?
Well, Buffalo may have a little problem offensively, because they have a great running game, but they lost their offensive tackle, Chantrell Henderson.
Yeah.
So he's going to be gone, so they got to replace him. And if you look at the Raiders last week, their pass rush came alive against Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Averill and Mack were all over Cam Newton.
Yeah, Cam Newton's amazing. Yeah.
It's going to be a problem for Buffalo with a new offensive tackle. You look at the Raiders on the flip side of that chart. They have the highest paid offensive line in football, and it's paid off. You see the production that they've had, the protection that they've had for Carr. The running game has been, up this year from what they've been over the past couple of years. And you look at their record, the top team in the AFC. And Buffalo, coming from turf, so also going out playing on grass.
Yeah.
And I heard you guys had the sprinklers on out there in California, so the grass might be a little slippery in the conversation. So
hey, don't give away our secret, Big Z.
Buffalo, they'll have a long road trip back home to Buffalo after this one, after a loss. That's
funny you mentioned about turning on the sprinklers. I hear the great Lou Holtz, whenever they would get to play USC or they would bring Miami up there to play at Florida State, they always have the grass long at Notre Dame, and he had the sprinklers on at Notre Dame too, Big C. I don't think they do that at the Coliseum, but I cannot confirm or deny that, Big C. But it should be a great game over in the black hole. Just make sure if you go and sit in the black hole, you take your umbrella, even if it's not raining, if you know what I mean, Big C. Another game coming up on the West Coast. Should be not on the West Coast, but on the East Coast as they go across the country, Big C. This has a Super Bowl type appeal to it just because of the history of these great franchises playing. And when you think about the New York Giants going on the road, they're 8-3. They're going to Pittsburgh, which is 6-5. And I think Pittsburgh may be the best 6-5 team in the NFL right now with the great Ben Roethlisberger. That game is Sunday at 4:25 Eastern Time on Fox. The great Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews have the play-by-play on this game, Big C. And when you look at the point spread, the Steelers are favored by 6 in this game. You have the Steelers, they have nearly doubled their season sack total from what they had last year in the last 2 weeks, Big C. Your thoughts on this game, Big C?
Well, this is one of those surprise games because this is a game with a team that nobody's talking about quietly. The New York Giants. They're 8-3, Charlton. 8-3. And this is a team that, is playing tremendous football. They got a running game to help out Eli Manning, and that's been the difference with the Giants. And you look at what the defense has done.
Oh, yeah.
They've had Jason Pierre-Paul all season long this year. You remember last year he had that horrific accident where he lost part of his hand.
Yeah.
But this year he's been in the lineup all year long and has made a difference with the pass rush of the New York Giants. But this is a team that's amassed an 8-3 record that is basically going under the radar in the NFC.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh has been up and down inconsistent. Roethlisberger's blamed the coach. He's blamed other players. But, you're the quarterback. He's had some injuries. He's missed some time. But the Giants, have found a way to amass 8 wins, Charlton. They're going to get into the playoffs. And when the Giants get into the playoffs, they can make things happen. The last time they were 9-7 in the playoffs, they won a Super Bowl beating New England.
Yeah.
Everybody just shoot in for the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah.
But the Giants are one of those teams that know how to win. They got a young head coach that has learned how to keep his team together. And I like them over Pittsburgh in this game, Charlton, because Pittsburgh has been inconsistent. Their defense has not been the steel curtain of the past. It's more like the shower curtain now. And so
that's
I like
funny.
the Giants in this game.
Well, they may try to bring back Franco Harris and Mean Joe Green, even the great Lynn Swann. When I look at some of the matchups, the Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. versus the Steelers cornerback William Gage should be a great game. I love how they throw the ball downfield with the Giants when they give the ball to Beckham. It should be a great game. I'm looking at Pittsburgh to squeak that one by Big C, but we'll have to see what happens. Also, another game, it should have been a fantastic matchup, but the records aren't that impressive so far. The Redskins, they're 6-4-1. They're at the Arizona Cardinals. They're 4-6-1, Big C. That game is Sunday, 4:25 Eastern Time on Fox Sports. The great Dick Stockton, Chris Spielman, and Christina Pink have that play-by-play. And the Cardinals are favored by 2.5 in the Dome. And you look at Larry Fitzgerald, how much of a difference he makes. I don't know how healthy Carson Palmer is. The Cardinals had the best downfield passing attack last year in the NFL, but right now Kirk Cousins looks like he has a hot hand at quarterback. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, if Kirk Cousins wants to get paid, Charlton, next year, he's going to have to win this game against the Cardinals. Yeah. They have a decent secondary, and but the receiving corps has got the job done for Washington this year. Carson Palmer's getting all the out of team not performing. Yeah. And it hasn't been him. It hasn't been Carson Palmer. The receivers have not been catching the ball. Yeah. So, that makes any quarterback look bad when you come under that scenario. But Kirk Cousins, we saw the last time he played over 450 yards passing against the Cowboys, Charlton. Yeah. Can he duplicate that performance against the Cardinals? I don't think so. So this is one of those games, Charlton, that either one of these teams can win. The Cardinals desperately need a victory to keep Bruce Arians down because I think he's getting on the hot seat now because he has not made a change at quarterback, and Carson Palmer's taking all the blame.
And what a great matchup we have. The cornerback Josh Norman versus the Cardinals wide receiver and Larry Fitzgerald. We'll love to see that matchup materialize, Big C. And also this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. I'm also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports and on iHeartRadio Network. We simply want to put people back to work. Also, Big C, another game that has some intrigue, especially from the quarterback position on the West Coast. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will travel all the way across the country. They're 6-5 on the season, and they're playing at the San Diego Chargers, which are 5-6. And that game is Sunday, 4:25 Eastern Time at Fox. And Sam Rosen, David Deal, and Holly Saunders have the play-by-play. Now, the Chargers are favored by 3.5 because they can really throw the ball, Big C. But Winston, he's coming into his own right now. That's a game that it might be a little deceptive, but your thoughts coming into that game, Big C?
Well, Winston, he's up and down, Charlton. He still hasn't found that total consistency that you want at quarterback. Yeah. 1 week he's going to look great. They beat up on Seattle last week. Seattle was one of those things we talked about being tired, all those miles that they had put in over a 3-week stretch, going back and forth across the country. Yeah. But, here's a young team in Tampa Bay. They've been relatively healthy. They're starting to get their running game back. Martin is back in the lineup. Charlton Evans has turned into one of the top receivers in the NFL. So, going out there, this is a challenge for them, and they need to see if they can stop Phillip Rivers, who at times can get hot. He put up 4 touchdown passes a couple weeks ago in a game.
Yeah.
But can he duplicate that against the Buccaneers defense? Phillip Rivers, his time is running close to an end in the NFL, and he just hasn't been able to get it done. He's gotten to the AFC Championship once against New England. But other than that, his career has been mediocre, Charles, as far as winning as a quarterback.
Yeah, and when you look at the receiving numbers, just think about what's happening with Tampa. There have been 4 receivers in NFL history who reached 1,000 yards receiving in each of the first 3 seasons. That Tampa Bay's wide receiver Mike Evans, he's part of the reason that they're having success this year. And he's tied with John Jefferson, A.J. Green, and Randy Moss as only 4 receivers in NFL history to have over 1,000 yards receiving in their first 3 seasons, Big C. So good job with him. And another game that has playoff implications, especially over the last couple of seasons, Big C, up in the great Northwest. I think the greatest football environment called the 12th man up in the land of fish, Big C. So you might like going up there and watching them play because they, unlike the guys down south where you got to catch your fish, they throw them at you, Big C, when you're up there in the state of Washington. I think they call it fish market or whatever it's called. It's a fishy smell, but they actually throw fish at you, Big C. You just got to catch them in a bucket. But I like the matchup. I like the way Cam Newton started to play better. The Panthers are only 4-7, and they're at the Seattle Seahawks 7-3-1. That's Sunday at 5:30 Eastern Time on NBC Sports. The great Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Satoya have the play-by-play. The Seahawks are favored by 7 over Carolina, and I look at Russell Wilson, who hasn't played that great, or at least that consistently. He's been banged up, but he's up and down. But this time I think they'll be more rested because they're at home. Should be a better game by him. And the 12th man, if they can get in the head of Cam Newton, Big C, should be another win for Seattle. Your thoughts?
Well, you got to remember, Charlton, Seattle did not score a touchdown last week versus Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So that's a problem with them offensively. They have not been able to develop a consistent running game. And you think about the receiving core that Russell Wilson has. You got Jimmy Graham, you got Kurtz. You got some receivers that can catch the ball, but, offensive line. When you're starting 2 rookie offensive linemen, it creates a problem for any team. 2 rookie offensive linemen, no running game.
Yeah.
All the pressure's been put on a gimpy quarterback this year. Seattle's defense has lost a couple key starters also to injury. But you look at Carolina, their defense is down. Last year, one of the top-ranked defenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know if Luke Kuechly will be available this week. Thomas Davis been a tremendous linebacker throughout his NFL career. But the cornerbacks in Carolina, you're starting 2 rookie quarterbacks, and that's been their Achilles heel this year defensively. People have talked about Cam Newton being down this year. His numbers are not that far off from what they were last year in an MVP season. But that defense, Charlton, giving up a lot of points every game and a lot of yards passing, playing 2 rookie quarterbacks. If Russell Wilson and Seattle's going to get healthy, this is the team to get it against. But Cam Newton can play it and hold his own against any defense in the NFL, Charles.
And that's true, Big C. And the final game coming up, Big C, in the NFL this week, you have the Indianapolis Colts at 5-6. They're on the road at the New York Jets, the Jets, Jets, and they're 3-8 on the season. That's Monday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And ESPN has that game with the great Sean McDonough, John Gruden, and Lisa Salters doing that play-by-play. The Colts are favored by 1.5 on the road at New York. No, they don't have Broadway Joe, Big C. They don't have any of the great Jets football players from the past. But just your thoughts on the Jets being able to pull off a win here, playing against Andrew Luck, who has been concussed, but they're saying he's going to play anyway. And even if he does play, I'm just not impressed with him being the highest-paid quarterback in the league. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when Andrew Luck doesn't play well, it's everybody else's fault in Indianapolis. And this is a quarterback that's been off the injured for the past couple of years. Last year, I believe he missed about 8 games due to injuries. He's already missed a couple games this year, basically, Charlton, off of injuries. So the inconsistency of Andrew Luck is what has to be questioned. It's not questioned by the mainstream media, but you have to question it. If he's not producing, you got to look at him. We look at other teams when we talked about Phillip Rivers. You look at him when they're not producing. You look at Chicago where you're looking at Jay Cutler where they were not winning. But, no one wants to put the blame on Andrew Luck. Everybody wants to say he's the greatest quarterback of all time that have come out of college. But, he's no better than anybody else, Charlton. Until you put that W up, until you host that Vince Lombardi trophy, you're not the greatest quarterback going even that season. So you have to look at that with the coach. This is a game that they sorely need. If they go into New York and lose this game, Chuck Pagano will be on the hot seat as far as keeping his job in Indianapolis, Charlton. I mean, Bowles, I think his job is safe with the Jets because they've had so many injuries and management has not given the personnel. But Pagano, he won't have an excuse if he loses to the Jets this week, Charlton.
Well, Big C, this final segment is sponsored by BeneathHisWingsFoundation.org. When it comes to promotions, contact Cynthia Evans. She's the best in Northern California with CYNN Entertainment. And Big C, just one thing to bring up. I just want to pay a little bit of homage to some of the high school teams all over the country because we talk so much about whether it's the Pac-12 championship down here at Levi Stadium or you're looking at the SEC championship there in Atlanta. And we have them going on all over the country, whether it's the Big Ten or the Big 12. And congratulations to all of the teams that have played good enough football to get their teams in the championship games. But I just want to pay a little homage to some of the high schools all around the country. I think there's been so much football played from college and pro that it's really cut into the time and the fun that a lot of high school players have had, Big C. I know there's a lot of good schools down south, but I just want to take the time to thank all the high school kids that follow Big C Sports. We don't forget about you. We know you're getting ready for your section championships and also the state championships coming up all over the country. And I just want to pay homage to some of you guys out there as you work hard and you work hard in the classroom and you try to get ready for the next level. There's something that has to be said about being prepared in the classroom. Whether you want to go out and create your own sports show like Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, or if you want to go into the UFC and become the next Conor McGregor. The days of boxing, I thought they were great with the great Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard and all those good old boys, Big C. But I just want to get your thoughts real quick on these high school kids who are going to be signing their letters of intent to play for college football teams, especially the ones that we see in these championship games. They have to be reminded, especially your parents, you got to ask them what's the GPA of the kids they already had under their tutelage. And also, what do you plan on doing to make sure that we have some type of pay equity given to these athletes when they're helping these coaches make tens of millions of dollars, Big C? Your thought on that, Big C?
We talked about it in the opening of the program. The NCAA right now has 11 head coaching positions open.
Yeah.
In major college football. So these guys are going to make a lot of money. You got a lot of players. Think about it, 11 teams where players are left behind by coaches, whether it's voluntarily or involuntarily.
Yeah.
And the heads haven't stopped rolling, Charlton. There's still going to be at least another half dozen openings over the next month in college football. So what's going to happen to these kids that are left behind at these universities? We talk about other sports competing on the professional and college level with high school football. You're looking at the Pac-12 championship tonight, Charlton, on a Friday night.
Yeah.
What's going on in California? Great area for high school football as well as the rest of the country. But you have college football once again competing against high school football, taking away their fanfare. But I think when these coaches and these universities go out to recruit these players, I think they should all be held accountable, Charlton, for what they say to these players.
Yeah.
If you go out and you commit perjury to these players, you should be held accountable for it. As far as what you're going to do for them academically, what you're going to do as far as staying at the university, how you're going to look after them, how you're going to help to see them graduate. These are the things that are told to these young players, Charlton, when they go visit their parents and them at their homes or even at their high schools. But also often, Charlton, these coaches are not following through with these false promises.
Yeah.
And I think they all need to be held accountable for it because football and a young man's life is on the line.
Yeah.
And the young man's life is more valuable than football, even though the coaches are making money off of these young players. They're bringing them in, they exploit them, making millions of dollars. The NCAA is off these players and not paying them.
Yeah.
And regardless of how you look at it, whether you like us or not, we're being honest about what we're saying.
Yeah.
I'd love to see ESPN talk about it in that fashion. I'd love to see Fox Sports talk about it in that fashion. ABC, Charlton, CBS. I'd love to see them talk about the exploitation of the young student athlete who comes in expecting all of everything from a university, and the coach walks away to make more money. He's making a lot of money at the university he is, but then he walks away from that university, and those kids that he's recruited and made promises to about how to improve their lifestyle, their education, but he walks out on them. It's almost a divorce, Charlton, but you don't care. It's like having kids that you walk away from because you see another prettier woman, Charlton, and say, hey, It's their mother's job to take care of it. And that's how coaches are with these players that they leave behind. They abandon their children and do not care about their futures, Charlton.
Well, Big C, I think that's so important because if we don't advocate for the young people out there with their eyes all bright and they think they're going to be the next pro athlete, you don't take advantage of people just because you're smarter than them. That's what I love about Charlton and Big C Sports on iHeartRadio Network. We're not just here to tell you who won a game and what the score was and who's going to play in the next bowl game. There's also something called a human being, and these young kids who are away from their homes, they're away from their parents, they're really away from people who love them for the first time in their lives. And a lot of these coaches, they talk about how they love their players and they love their athlete, but if someone gives them more money, they're going to leave. I doubt any parent would leave his family just because somebody's going to give them more money, Big C. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids that are exploited, they happen to be African American because a lot of them don't have maybe more options do they think they do, but they're just a little bit more challenging once they take off the uniform. But I would encourage people to still watch the documentary 13th before the holidays. And I want every young kid, sometimes your parents may not be able to speak up for you, but you can ask that coach the same way they ask for your 40 time, how fast you run the 40, how much do you bench press. Ask them for the GPAs of everyone that's been under their tutelage. Ask them how much money they're making. Ask them how much money they're going to get if they go to a bowl game. And like Jay Billis said, are they ever going to advocate for the athletes to get that money too? I hope that we can beat that drum until a lot of people start saying, you know what? We are getting this free labor, Big C. As we get ready for a championship weekend, whether it's high schools and colleges, and of course the NFL is great. Just give me your thoughts, Big C, as we close out on what you're looking forward to most this weekend, Big C. Go right ahead, sir.
We're talking with all the college championships that's going to be settled this weekend, and the bowl picture will finally come into play after Saturday night's games, Charlton. That's what's the great part about college football.
Yeah.
But, hopefully, just from a fan's perspective, is that they align these teams geographically, Charlton, allow fans to be able to go follow their home teams, make it, affordable for the fans to get to, because I think that's the basis of college football, having the fans enjoy it. The NFL, Charlton, we know we're jockeying for some playoff positions.
Yeah.
Some teams will be eliminated this week. Some teams will sneak into a better position playoff-wise. And, every factor this time of the year, we saw Aaron Rodgers get nicked last week against Philadelphia. We've already seen New England lose Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Several key players go down this time of the year, which can change the team's fortune when it comes to a playoff run. Those that are in, Charlton, are going to be in. But, just another great weekend of football. A lot of high school playoff games going on. But, we're all going to settle down this weekend. Fall is in the air. The weather's finally changed. Alabama's going to make the playoffs and everybody else will follow.
Yeah.
But, don't worry about it. USC going to make it.
Yeah, well, USC has their own issues. Next year, Big C. Lynn Swan, he's going to get them ready next year, Big C. But I do want to tell everybody, no matter what you're doing, please be safe out there this weekend. A lot of good things happening in the world of sports. We hope that everybody can participate because sports, it brings our country together. And as we always say, worldwide, Charlton and Big C Sports, the number one sports show in the universe, broadcasting with the number one media company in the United States, and that's iHeartMedia. As we always tell you, go be safe, go have a lot of fun, and when it comes to women, there's never any tolerance for domestic violence. If you know of any woman going through that garbage, just call 911. We got to keep women safe, especially around the world of sports. A woman's battered every 20 minutes in this country, or actually every 20 seconds. Don't let that happen to anyone you care about. Call 911, even if you don't know the person. And as we tell you every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, please follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. And we always want you to know that we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.